My name is Sophia. I'm 24 and am completely addicted to shoplifting. The thing that surprises a lot of people is that I have a ton of money. I grew up in a wealthy family and never wanted for anything. We had a big house, every kind of toy a kid would ever want, nice cars, and all the gadgets. My parents were both lawyers and were very busy. I was pretty much raised by my nanny. She was the real person I felt worried about disappointing the first time I was busted for shoplifting. That first time was the one I'll always remember. I still don't know what possessed me to do it, but I did it nonetheless. I was in a grocery store, one of those kinds that have groceries plus pretty much everything else. I was in an aisle, saw some nylons with a cool pattern I liked, and for some strange reason, I just put them in my bag. I literally had hundreds of dollars in my wallet and could have easily paid. It felt so good, I went down the next aisle and did the same thing with some makeup, and then more makeup, and then basically everything I saw. I had a big shoulder bag I had bought at the Army surplus store in the mall. It was big with lots of room for a lot of things. When I left the store, I still had my cart of things to pay for, but I also had my shoulder bag full of stuff I wasn't planning on paying for. I went about my shopping experience as if nothing was off. I went to the till, chatted with the cashier, paid, and went through the till. As I was exiting the store, a man came up to me and with a walkie-talkie. He said something into it as he was approaching me and then introduced himself as the store's security guard. He asked to see my receipt and then to look in my bag. I felt embarrassed, but not overly so. He saw the things I had stolen and asked me to accompany him upstairs to an office. I followed him up the stairs and sat down in an office. He asked me why I would want to do this kind of thing, and I don't even remember what I said. I think I just shrugged my shoulders. We sat in the office in silence until 2 police officers arrived. I remember thinking how cute one of them was, but I didn't imagine this was how police officers looked to meet girls. The 2 of them introduced themselves and asked to see my receipt and the stuff the guard had taken out of my bag. They asked to look inside my bag again. They saw my wallet bursting with bills and asked how much money I had in there. I said I didn't know, but that it was likely a few $100s. "Why on earth wouldn't you just pay for it then?" the one officer asked. Again, I just shrugged my shoulders. In truth, I didn't know the answer. So I was told that because I had no former record and it was my first offense, that I could choose community service or to pay a fine in the form of a donation to a local charity. I picked the latter, of course, and donated to the local animal shelter. I thought the whole thing was over until I found myself in a shop again. I don't know why, but I started to wonder what I could sneak out of there. I asked myself why I would want to steal when I had more than enough money. I told myself that I was lucky to have gotten away with it the first time, and even luckier that my parents hadn't found out. The urge was overwhelming though, and I stole 2 lipsticks, a pair of gloves, some jewelry, and some other trinkets I don't even remember. I felt oddly numb when I was unpacking it at home that night. I dumped everything out of my shoulder bag onto my bed and looked down at my loot. I felt like I should feel something, either regret or guilt or adrenaline or happiness, but instead, I felt nothing. I wasn't sure what I was hoping for, but I felt disappointed. Just then, my nanny walked into the room. I just brushed off her questions with telling her that it was my most recent shopping spree. She looked a little worried. She had known me and raised me since I was a baby and always knew when I was lying. She asked me if there was anything I needed to tell her, but I just said no, and she left it at that. My next solo trip to the shop was the same. I pocketed over $100 worth of stuff. I had fun doing it and felt like it was an instinct I had to follow. But it was strange that after I had done it, I didn't feel much pleasure out of it. I mostly gave away the stuff I stole or just threw it out. I had enough stuff to last a lifetime. I was getting more and more careless and was starting to leave my stolen goods out in the open. One night, after a particularly lucrative session, I had everything I stole out in plain sight on the dining room table. Looking back, I can see that I was challenging my parents. I wanted them to notice. I wanted them to ask me where everything had come from, and I wanted them to catch me. It took me years to figure it out with my shrink, but I finally got it. I stole compulsively to get attention. The more I stole, the more I realized I wanted attention from it. That night, my parents came home from work late and exhausted, as usual. I told my nanny to leave the stuff on the table, even though it was regular practice to have the table cleared and set for when the rents came home. When they saw the table, they casually asked me what all the clutter was. I actually said, "Oh, that's just my stolen contraband for the day." My mom clearly hadn't listened to my answer and replied with a disinterested, "Oh yeah, well, get it off the table so we can eat. Where's the nanny? Why would she allow such a mess here anyway?" I couldn't believe it. Would I have to steal a car and park it in the driveway to get their attention? I swept all the stuff into the garbage and planned out my next big heist. I wondered what I could steal that was bigger and would be more of a challenge. I decided to steal a big handbag next. There was a designer store in the mall where the bags ran anywhere from $300 to $8,000. I strolled in there the next day as if I had every right to be in there and nothing but money to spend. I had taken in my fancy-looking no-name handbag. I found the bag I liked with a price tag of a whopping $6,000. Now, this was serious, and I knew it. If I was caught with that bag, my parents were sure to get a call. I covertly walked around to the back of the rack facing away from the sales clerks. I started to transfer the contents of my bag into the one hanging on the rack. Next, I produced the pair of scissors I had brought along for the purpose and snipped the security tag off the handle. I slid the new bag onto my shoulder and walked right on out of the store. Every time I did this, it surprised me how easy it was. That night, I left the bag out clearly where my parents would see it. I didn't expect my dad to know what it was, but I knew my mom would know the brand instantly and would also know exactly how much it cost. She was sure to react. What mother wouldn't recall that her daughter didn't own a $6,000 bag? As it turns out, my mom wouldn't. I left the bag hanging on a hook by the front door, which happened to be where my mom hung up her fancy bag when she got home. I watched from the landing as she just pushed mine to the side with a yawn and hung hers as per usual. I lost my mind and ran down the stairs screaming at her to look at what was hanging on the rack. I said, "Don't you get it? Do you even see me or anything that goes on in this house?" She just stared at me blankly. My nanny had come into the room and was watching with concern. I said to my mom, "Would you even care to know that I've been arrested for shoplifting and have become addicted to it? I can't even walk into a store without walking out with stuff I didn't pay for." I stopped to give her a chance to talk, and what she said just cemented everything I'd been feeling from the time I was a little girl. Like I was a little more than an imposition to her. She said, "I don't really care what you do. You're almost an adult and shouldn't need to be coddled anymore. If you get caught again, you'll get arrested and can face those consequences on your own. Just like you made the decision to steal on your own. If you have a problem, that's just it. It's your problem. Figure it out." So that was it. I got addicted to shoplifting to get my parents' attention. And they didn't even care enough to be mad when I told them about it. To watch more animated story videos like this, hit that subscribe button. And tell us in the comments section what you thought about this story.